Hello everyone, it's MrsBHistory and welcome back to the channel. In today's lesson we're exploring the dramatic story of how a trading company, yes, not a king or a government, managed to take control of huge parts of India. In the early 1700s, India was still officially ruled by the Mughal Emperor, who had once been one of the most powerful rulers in the world. But by the 1740s things were changing. The Mughal Empire was falling apart. The emperor no longer had strong control over his lands. At the same time, Afghan armies invaded India from the north, adding more chaos. Across India, many local rulers called nawabs decided they no longer wanted to follow the emperor. Instead, they broke away and created their own independent kingdoms, each fighting for more territory and power. This made India a patchwork of competing rulers, which was a perfect opportunity for an outside force to step in. The East India Company was a British trading company, not a government. It was originally set up to buy and sell things like spices, cloth, tea, and silk. To do this, the company built trading posts along the coast of India called factories. Not factories for making things, but safe, fortified trading stations. But when the empire weakened and India became unstable, the company feared it might lose money or be attacked, so it took a big step. It built its own army, made up of Indian soldiers from warrior families, British officers to train and to command them. By the 1750s, the company was no longer just trading, it was taking sides in battles between different nawabs. Sometimes these nawabs were even supported by another European rival, the French East India Company. Britain and France were both fighting for influence in India, and India became a battleground for their competition. In 1756, the young and determined Siraj ud Daulah rose to power as Nawab of Bengal, one of the wealthiest provinces in India. From the moment he took the throne, he viewed the British with deep suspicion. Their trading port of Calcutta was growing rapidly, and Siraj feared it was only a matter of time before the East India Company tried to dominate Bengal. So, in June 1756, Siraj struck first. He launched a bold attack on Calcutta and successfully seized the city from the British. The East India Company was stunned. Losing Calcutta was a major blow, threatening both its trade network and its profits. Meanwhile, a long way away in the bustling southern city of Madras, an East India Company officer named Robert Clive heard the shocking news. Calcutta had fallen. Clive was no ordinary officer. He had a reputation for being bold, ambitious, and brilliantly unpredictable in battle. Without wasting a moment, Clive sprang into action. He gathered his troops and began an astonishing march of 1,000 miles across the Indian subcontinent, determined to take back the city the company could not afford to lose. It was a daring mission, the kind only Clive would attempt. But Clive wasn't reliant on military strength alone. As he advanced north, he played a far more dangerous game, that of politics. Behind closed doors, he negotiated a secret deal with Mir Jafar, the commander of Siraj ad-Daulah's forces. Clive promised Mir Jafar the title of Nawab, the ruler of Bengal, if he agreed to betray Siraj at the right moment. It was a risky gamble, the kind that could either collapse in disaster or reshape a nation, and in this case it would change the future of India forever. On the morning of the 23rd of June 1757, two very different armies stood facing each other on the dusty fields near Plassey. It was a showdown that would shape the future of India forever. The odds were almost laughable. On one side stood Robert Clive, commanding just 3,000 troops, a tiny force by any standard. Across the field waited Siraj ad-Daulah's massive army of about 50,000 soldiers, a force so huge it should have crushed Clive easily. But Clive had two secret advantages up his sleeve. Firstly, he had European weapons and training which were far more advanced and disciplined than what most of Siraj's troops carried. Also, he had an ill-hidden ally, Mir Jafar, who had already agreed to betray Siraj. When the fighting began, many of Siraj's soldiers held back or abandoned the battlefield altogether. With Siraj's army crumbling from the inside, Clive's small but well-trained force pushed forward. Against all expectations, he won the battle with surprising ease, despite being outnumbered more than 15 to 1. When the dust settled, Clive kept his promise. He installed Mir Jafar as the new nawab of Bengal, but the title meant very little. Behind the scenes, the East India Company pulled all the strings. Mir Jafar became what historians call a puppet ruler, a ruler in name, but controlled entirely by the company's power and demands. In 1765, a momentous meeting took place, one that would reshape the future of the Indian subcontinent. The weakened Mughal Emperor, struggling to hold on to power, signed what became known as the Treaty of Allahabad. With just the signature, the Emperor handed the East India Company something extraordinary: the legal right to rule Bengal directly. This wasn't just another political agreement, it was the moment that Britain's control in India truly began. But the treaty offered even more. The company gained the right to collect taxes from 20 million people, bringing in an astounding £3 million every single year. Practically overnight, a trading company became richer than many European nations. Suddenly, spices and silks weren't its biggest source of wealth anymore. Now its real power and its real income came from taxing Indian people. What began as a business had taken a giant step towards becoming a ruler. After the East India Company seized control of Bengal, its power didn't just grow, it exploded. Almost overnight, the company transformed from a group of merchants into a force that looked more like a nation. Its private army swelled to over 100,000 soldiers, an unbelievable size for what was still, officially, just a business. Company officers, especially men like Robert Clive, became some of the most powerful figures in India. They didn't wait for instructions from London. Instead, they made huge decisions on their own, shaping the future of entire regions without the British government's approval. Back in Britain, politicians watched this rise with growing alarm. The company was becoming so rich, so influential, and so independent that even Parliament feared it might be unstoppable. And the truth was, they couldn't stop it. By 1815, the East India Company was no longer just a trading business. It was a power stretching across huge parts of India. Its influence reached most of northeast India, spreading from Bengal all the way to Delhi, covered almost all the entire eastern coastline from Calcutta to the Carnatic, and was pushing steadily into southwest India. Under this expanding rule lived around 40 million Indians, their lives increasingly shaped by the decision of company officers rather than Indian rulers. Even the once mighty emperor, who had ruled over one of the greatest empires in the world, had lost real power. From 1803 onwards, he was effectively controlled by the company, an emperor in name, but not in authority. Instead, the true ruler of India had become the company's Governor General, the man who now made the decisions that shaped millions of lives and steered the direction of the entire subcontinent. The East India Company had started as a business trading spices and silk. By 1815, it was ruling a vast land, a company acting like a kingdom. The East Indies Company takeover of India wasn't quick, it happened step by step. It succeeded because India was weakened and divided, because the company built strong forts and a powerful army, because clever officers like Clive used political deals and military strength. It grew because important treaties gave the company legal power. Winning battles made the company wealthier and more confident, and in the end, a company that had come to trade spices became the ruler of a vast and ancient land. So thank you for watching Mrs. B History. I hope you found this interesting and useful. If you did like it, then please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe and hit the bell for further notifications.